Hey all, Mark Vega, Run Long After 60. Do you know anybody who's doing a run streak? You know what that is? It's a real thing, and it's legitimate, and it's tracked, and there's international organizations and national organizations, but essentially, it's somebody who decides they're going to run at least 1 mile a day, hard stop, 1 mile. And you can cover many more, but it's at least 1 mile. Well, I've met some of those people in the past, and they've done it for a year or 2 or 3, or pretty impressive. I just love to hear those stories. But recently, somebody passed his mark, his year mark, and he just passed 18 years. 18 years, every day, 18 years, running at least a mile. Kevin Brunson is his name. Woo! I had to let that sink in, like I was trying to do the math in my head. That's a lot of days. And he has a day counter too, like when he's on Strava, you look at his Strava account and it's every day. But this guy is not phoning in 1 mile a day. Nope. This guy has run plenty of ultra races. And in 2007 though, he decided, well, I'm gonna do this every day. And we talk about that in this interview. And we don't just talk about the run streak though. We talk about what it takes to be 66 years old and do it. 66. Now what that means is that 18 years ago, he wasn't 66. He wasn't even 50, right? So you start in your 40s, I'm going to do this thing. There are hundreds of people being tracked for this streak. He's actually number like 150, meaning there's 150 people whose streaks are longer than his 18 years. There's one person who's been doing it for 55 years, and it goes down from there. So, but it's not a competition in that regard necessarily, but the resilience, the strength, the holy cow of it all makes me love humans. So when I saw him, and he's a very humble guy, he's a very friendly guy, and when I got to connect with him, I just couldn't wait to talk to him and let me hear his story. So at 66, he's covering these miles every day. And of course, he said he's been running since he's in the 5th grade, so he's been running a long time, but I guess only literally keeping track of his daily volume for 18 years. So, fun guy, kind guy, and it really reminded me, or emphasizes, or highlights the idea of that Run Long After 60 itself is all about resilience, and it is about finding people who are growing old and they continue to do hard things, crazy things. So I was really happy to learn and know what a run streak is, but I was really excited to meet a 66-year-old who just finished 18 years, and he's gonna keep going. He's not going to stop until he's taking a dirt nap. I mean, he's going all the way. All right, that's about it. If you like this content, share it with somebody who looks and sounds like me, or maybe looks and sounds like Kevin Brunson, because we're just here to celebrate and support each other. So that's the whole point of all of it. You know, human beings do hard things, and I'm really proud to be one of them. So I think that's all we got for now, right? I think we're ready. I think it's time. It's time for Kevin Brunson. Okay, let's go. Here we are. This is the Run Long After 60 podcast. I'm Mark Vega. Holy cow. We caught this guy, Kevin Brunson. Literally, I feel like I just caught this guy, like within the last 48 hours. Why? Because this guy has been running a run streak. He just passed the 18-year mark, right? That's over 6,500.
Sounds a little crazy, right?
It is. Kevin, nice to meet you and nice to see you, and welcome to the Run Long After 60 podcast.
Well, it's great to meet you, Mark.
Now, you've been doing this for a minute, and we're both over. You're 66 right now, right? You're 66?
That's correct.
Okay. This is one thing I realized, Kevin, when I started the show, I didn't get it until now, but as I started to talk to people, I realized, oh my God, we have thousands of stories to tell over once we hit 60, right? We got so many. So we can't cover that many, but
Right.
anything you want to tell us about yourself would be great. Tell me a little origin story, and then we're going to really dig deep into the run streak, because I haven't spoken to a run streaker yet. So you're my first, so I'm very excited.
I'm located in Reno, Nevada. That's probably important because we're surrounded by mountains. And so I really started in 5th grade running. It's crazy. And I did cross country, middle school, and 2 years in high school.
Okay.
And then I joined the Navy, and then Navy I ran. It was pretty uneventful until I turned 40. And my first ultra, or anything real long, over 10 miles, was in 2001. And it was the local Tahoe Rim Trail 50K. So that was my start. And then since then, I've been into it deep. And then after running a while, so that was in 2001, I was enjoying it. One of the things that like bugged me, like when you talk to people, was they say, do you run every day, And they would say, do you run every day? And I'd have to say no. But I was running like 5 days a week.
Wait a minute. That's
Yeah.
why you decided I'm going to run every day. So
that's one of the many reasons,
Right.
But one of the reasons was the primary reason was I wanted to be a motivator. I was raised to believe that you try to make the world a better place type thing. And the one thing I was doing that a lot of people weren't doing is staying very active. And the way I was doing that is, my first 4 races were ultra marathons. So that's in the early 2000s, and that's how I got into it.
I do 2 things. I pause people a lot, right? And then I'm looking to the side because I have monitors on both sides that have your stats. So
right.
So we learn lesson 1 from Kevin Brunson, like, how humble can this guy be? Like, I'm extracting this data out of him, and then he has to say, oh, well, my first 4 races were ultras. Like, what? So you were 42, it looks like, from ultra sign up. Looks like you were 42, the Tahoe Rim Trail Endurance Run. 50K.
Well, and those were my first 4 over the marathon distance. I'll say it that way. So I was doing like the shorter stuff, 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons.
On the street, right? Those are the shorter distances.
Well, and then the streak happened in 2007, October.
No, sorry. My mistake. Not the streak, but the smaller races you were running on the street, right?
Street, and there was some trail. Yeah, because we're surrounded by trails. So, like at a park, like San Rafael Park used to hold a lot of them. I'm right next to Bartley Ranch Park. They hold them. So it was both on trail and on the street.
I got to make notes, man. I didn't know Reno was so close to trails. What?
Yeah, we're surrounded by mountains here. We're about, depending on how you go, we're like 45 minutes from Lake Tahoe. You can get the incline in that time. So our elevation, like if you want to go to Lake Tahoe, you fly into Reno. And we're at 4,600 elevation in Reno, but in Reno, you can, I can go to Galena Park, which is at 6,200, and go all the way up to Mount Rose, which I've done multiple times, and that's like 10,700. and 50. Yeah. So
What a great run that is. That is a lot of incline. Wow. How long?
right.
So
And
that was
go ahead.
so it's 42, 66. So 20. How long have you been in Reno? That's a long time.
I was born and raised, and I only left for the military in 1979, and then I'm sorry, I went out of order. So in 1977, I went to South Dakota to graduate high school. That's where my parents were from. Okay. And then I came back, and then I joined the military in 79. And then I was back into Reno in '83. So
that's great. I'm Army vet, so I love to hear it. But when you were in the Navy, when you ran in the Navy, you just mean you did PT, or did you?
Well, I did PT, and then we did. We had a ship. We were stationed in NES Alameda, and then we would do like sponsored events. And my main boss for the last part of my career was a commander, so he was number 3rd on the ship, and he goes, hey, it's good for the community. So there would be a lot of us on the ship, like doing a local 10K in NES Alameda.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's very cool. All right, so you have been running your whole life one way or another, I
pretty
suppose.
much one way or the other. Yeah, but like I said, the long distance stuff happened in 2001.
Yeah, how do you pick? This is fascinating. So at 42, this is July 2001.
And I was 41 when I did the first one, so it was 2001. I think maybe I was 42. No, you're looking at my stats, so you know better than me. Yeah, it was whatever the age was when I did the first TRT. That was the inaugural.
Really?
Salomon Trail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 2001. Okay, that is so cool. So your first race was an inaugural race. Oh, that's pretty cool.
That's correct. There was
how did you pick 50K, Kevin? Just because it was comfortable? You were elevating up from marathon distance, or how did you pick 50K?
I started running with a guy named Fred Zollikar. He basically came up to me at a 10K, local 10K at San Rafael, and he was first and I was second in the age group. And back then you wanted to have a partner. We didn't have phones and stuff.
Right.
And he was the mountain guy. He was a mountain climber. So he wanted someone to train with. And he goes, let's go for this run. And he undersold it. And it turned, my first long distance run was on the TRT, Tahoe Rim Trail, over Snowy Peak. And you can look that up. And it was 24 miles.
Oh, man.
That was my first one. I was able to do it. So,
Friends
that
Fred.
was good. And then I just started training with him. He ended up, if you look him up on that race, he ended up getting second. And then we were in the same age group. So first in the age group. And I was second. But it sort of got me going because I was top 10. And mainly because I was training with someone who knew what they were doing. So
that's pretty impressive, man. Oh, Fred Zollikar. There you go.
That's him.
That's
him.
And
he passed, unfortunately, like 4 years ago.
Aw, okay.
But his website's still up. So if you look him up, you're going to go, oh, my God, this guy. And so he was he was sub-elite at age 50. And he ran like 6 of the marathon, what do they call it now, where you do the 6?
The world marathons?
World marathon, there's a name, I'm forgetting it right now, but he did that and he won his age group in all 6 of those. So he was actually classified as what sub-elite for in the marathon for age 50.
That's really
he was quite the athlete. And when we met, I think he just turned 40, and I was a year and a half older than him. So So that's
Yeah,
how
on
that
that
went down.
on that race.
And
Yeah,
then I just kept training with them, and that. So I did that one. I did the Silver State. That was the old course. And then I did TRT again, and then another Silver State, and then after that I got the marathon bug.
okay.
So
So how did he find? Did you find Fred first, or he found you? How did that
well,
happen?
like I said, we did this race together, and he approached me because he was looking.
You didn't
for
before you did the
training.
race. You didn't know each other before that race, or
We did not, no.
okay, got it. Okay, got
And
it.
then we just happened to be in the same age group, and I happened to be behind him.
Okay,
And so I guess he figured I would be the most likely person that would be able to train with them. And then we did it the first run, and it worked out, so we just kept doing it.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So looks like at age 44 in 2003 is when you did that second Silver State, and then you have a break for 6 years before you go back into ultra sign up. So you went
I think the way it was, I think 01 I did the TRT, and then 02 I did a Silver State. I don't know what you're looking at, but if you go to like Ultra Sign Up, I think they have all those listed.
Yeah, they do. That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, and I don't know. There should be 4 there. So
There are.
I
There's
don't know.
there is for sure, and it's definitely impressive. So there we are now. So you look at the bottom,
Yeah.
Tahoe Rim Trail, and
Oh yeah, so you're looking at Ultra Sign Up, and then if you were to look at, because that's not really comprehensive. You know how if you go Ultra Runner and search me on Google, and the Ultra Running magazine pops up? I just did it before our talk. It has all 4 of them on there.
Okay. Yeah, and that is the benefit, and the Ultra Sign Up is a great resource because it's public and it's good, but it is limited. It is limitations, just like UTMB. So it doesn't capture international, it doesn't capture adventuring, it doesn't capture FKTs and all those things, and it certainly doesn't capture street running. So, so when I.
But like I said, on Ultra Running magazine, it has all those. So.
Yeah, you can find those listings, right? You can find the listings. That's what happened. Now here's the most recent version of the Ultra Running magazine. But people told me, and maybe this is what you're referring to. So before there was the internet, right, and before we did any of that, a lot of the only resource for running, finding 100-mile races, et cetera, was ultra running. You open it up, and in the back there's like advertisements for the races, and you literally made the address, you cut a check, and you mailed in your registration, right?
Right. And so on Ultra Running magazine, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
It has my race results, and then it has the 2001, 558, and then it has. It lists 2002, and I did 2 of them. And that was Tahoe Rim Trail, which was July 20th, 2002. And then prior to that was Silver State, May 18th, 2002. And then it has the Silver State in 2003.
Yeah, the second one. Yeah.
And it's funny, if you look, my time was the best the first time.
How do you like that?
It's crazy. The same thing happened to me in the marathon. And I tried to, so I did 17 marathons and 2 Bostons, but my whole thing was to qualify for marathons.
Okay.
So I had, in the ultra world, a lot of people can't qualify for marathons. So I was able to do that, but I have not mastered anything over 50 miles at this point. So I'm a mini ultra runner, right? Because these people are or like John Parks, for instance. So.
Right. Right. That's right. But, you know, I've also had the great opportunity to speak with a guy named Ray Sharp. Ray Sharp, 20 some years ago, is a race walker, right? He was a contender, Olympic contender, and still has some world records. And I didn't even know what race walking was. But now he's in his 60s running. He's run Boston many times, and he was like fifth in his age group last year. So this guy is
incredible. Yeah.
Right. So talk to me about, let's talk about speed or other. What's your priority? Because you mentioned the first one was the fastest, but when you're out there, whether you're exercising and we're going to get to the run streak, like what do you run for? Like what gets you moving out there?
Well, so what's cool about the streak? Can I talk about that a little bit?
Of course.
It's a paradigm shift. So before a streak, you're thinking, should I run today? Where should I run? Those type of things. But when you have the streak, you know you're going to run, right? Because you're running every day. So so you know you're going to run. So in the beginning, and I was doing marathon training, I ran the Cowtown Marathon in 2007. That was in Sacramento. And I started my streak the day before that. So I was doing, like the marathon programs.
Sure.
Where you have everything. You have basically tempo, speed, recovery type runs. And they would always have rest days on there. And then I would just run a mile or so.
Okay.
Because you have to do at least a mile to qualify for the streak. So
okay. So once you said you're doing it, okay, what did you know about is there an organization? What did you know about run streaks when you started?
Okay, that's a great question. So, and I have an answer. I'm sorry, I dropped something. So, like I told you, in like 2007, the year I did it, I was really tossing it around, and I'm not the only one, but a lot of us got started through Runner's World because they would run articles consistently, like every year. And so I read one in the summer it was called, Streak Running America. Now it's the International Streak Runner. It's www.runeveryday.com. And so I'm on that official list. I'm 130. And when I started, there was like 300, less than there was years. I remember that. And then now there's a
There
ton.
you are.
Yeah.
There you are, right up at the top.
Well, this is an old, what you pulled up. No, that's where so I'm 130 for the male only. You got everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, that's everyone.
So
okay.
I'm 149. That's correct. I'm 149 for everybody. But we run in age groups, right? So I'm always thinking male 60 to 69.
Right. Let's put on those filters. That's what we're going to do. Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, that's where I am on you found me right away. Yeah, that's where I am on the official list.
When you first see the Runner's World thing, like what was in your head? What was the the equation? It's like, this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to start.
So, I didn't start till October 6th. So I was ruminating about it from when I read it in the middle of the summer, let's say. And then I was thinking about it. And for some reason, when I did the Cowtown, which I believe it was October 7th, 2007, in Sacramento, I was doing my just get loose, do my, run before the marathon. It was like a 5K.
Sure.
And then I thought, you know what? This is a good time as any. If I make it through the marathon, I'm gonna I'm going to keep going because you had to do 365 days to get on the list. It's still the case. So
Okay.
so you got to run a year. And back in the day, I mean, they looked at my log and everything. So yeah, make sure I did 365 days. And then that's when I joined. And what's interesting about this, Mark, to me, is if you scroll down, now there's thousands of people. If you go to the very last person, which means that person ran, did their year, I mean, it's crazy how many there is now.
You're right. Oh, there he is. He's
5,000. Wow. And like I said, it was less than there was like 350 or so.
Right,
when I started. And that's where I was. So it doesn't seem like much, but I moved from there to, where I'm at today, which is, I guess, 149 on the overall list. So,
well, here's doing the math.
Yeah.
So I didn't, I never really thought about this. So I'm very happy that there is this list is live and it exists. So this is now this looks like it's in the United States, I guess, right? There's no.
It does, but it's all active. So I think there's people all over the world, but the majority are in the United States because they changed it to the international streak running.
Okay.
I think if you go back to the main page, isn't that what it says?
Yeah, I think you might. I think you're right.
Yeah.
So look, this is pretty impressive. So 55 years, 45 to 50 years called the coverts. That means if you had that kind of streak, legends, grandmasters, right?
Yeah.
Masters.
See, I'm just working my way through the list. So here's the thing.
Yeah.
Those people on the top of the list, they started when they were 18. And I was 48 when I started.
I got it. So this was what's happening. He's 81, 70, 74, 74. They're older people. But a couple of points here when I look through this, I'm like, wait a minute. By the time you have a 20-year run streak, they're only going to label you as highly skilled. Get out of town. We need different labels. That's insane.
If someone has 55 or above 55 years, if you put that in perspective, I guess it is highly skilled.
Right. It's one of nickel. This is an example of a list.
Yeah.
This is an example of a list that technically you could grow the top end of it, right? Because there could be you could give it another label once you hit 60 or 60 years of them, because it's rarefied air. That's for sure. But what's impressive, I want to get the experience. No, you're in the category called. There's a lot of people there. Holy cow. Well versed. Oh, come on. You are definitely well versed.
Talk about 18 years. Well versed.
That is.
Yeah, it's a whole different world, the streak running. But I'll tell you what's cool about it is you automatically get consistency, right? If you talk to people like people I talk to, and many people in this area, that's how they know me, as opposed to other people, is I'm the guy with the longest streak. Because now, when I was doing it, there was no one, but I think there's close to a 5,000 day streaker in Reno now that's on the list.
Oh,
I'm not sure, but I don't think it's 5,000 maybe, but I'm trying to think of the ones. But, there are some substantial streaks, like over 5 years, I think, is the bigger. So that's what, 3,000 or, no, that's, I don't know. I'm getting my days mixed up. But I think I have the longest one in Reno. by
Okay.
far. I think it's quite a bit bigger.
Yeah, let's start thinking about that. Even at 5,000, whether it's global or whether it's the United States or whatever, that is a very, very, very small slice of human beings.
It is. Yeah, it is. And it's not for everybody, Mark. I mean, let's talk about that because, some people would say, well, even running a mile, that's not recover. So you have to go into a phase where you feel like running a mile, 2 miles, a 5K is just active recovery. You are actually recovering, but it's not complete recovery like someone who would not run, for a day.
Yeah, Kevin, you had to get into that mindset within 2 months, my guess. There's no way if you're running every day, right?
You're right. And I'll tell you what, when I knew I was going to stick with it is when I got to 100 days, because that's 3 digits, right? So when I got to 100 days, I go, okay, I'm in it to win it now. I'm going to keep going. And I've been lucky to do it. I mean, I almost got stopped this summer because I had a little melanoma taken out of my leg below the calf. And of course the surgeon goes, oh, you got to take off 5 weeks. But luckily she was a runner. I negotiated with her and she said, okay, you can do a mile, but do your slowest miles. So I did that. I did my slowest mile, and that was I remember it because I went right after Broken Arrows. So that was June 2024. Broken Arrow is a week before Western States, and that's the hat I'm wearing.
Right. So I want to talk about those events, but go back to the hospital, go back to the recovery for a second, because when that happens, listen, we need to embrace our medical professionals who understand what we're trying to do, and they believe in the unlimited and sometimes untapped potential of the human heart, brain, and our brain-body connection, right? So when you were going out there, was that run, it's right after, was a surgery, right after a print, wow. Were you in pain? Like what?
I just didn't. It was weird, if you got like a line of stitches on you, and you don't want, they call them sutures, and they were internal and external, you don't want to break them up. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I actually, I sort of squished one, but for the most part, I got a clean bill of health, and it was just, you could feel it. And I was wearing a compression sleeve. Okay,
makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense. And that's basically all I did different.
Listen, man, 18 years, let's celebrate this for a second. 18 years is ridiculous. How many times, I don't know any other human beings who have gone 18 years without an injury that would make them not be ambulatory, that you couldn't walk. So congratulations, man. But how many, tell us some times where like, you thought you were down and out. You had to have colds, and you had to have that. So talk about some of those. But even with that,
and I got to be careful talking about that because I've been very blessed. Wow. I just don't get sick that much, so it's just reality. And in 2009 was the first time I got really sick because my daughter brought home the H1N1. The swine flu.
Yes.
And that was in 2009, but I only had it a week, and I had a marathon. I had the Biz Johnson. So for that week, I'll just tell you what I did. I ran 2 miles a day for 7 days. And then I went into like a ramp-up taper, because in 2 weeks I ran the Biz Johnson. And I got a 3:22. So I obviously recovered. And because my PR is 3:14, so in the marathon at Cal International Marathon, so does that answer
at
your
this
question?
moment? Wait, right now that's your marathon.
That's my marathon PR. Yeah,
that's great, man. Holy cow!
Yeah.
So aside from that swine flu brush with nastiness. Nothing
Yeah,
else.
and then, after that, I mean, and running, I think, has a big part of it because, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence, I don't know how scientific it is, but when you're getting out, you're blowing everything out of your system, right? For me, I mean, I gotta, I'm like getting rid of all the mucus out of your nose and,
Right.
spitting up all the stuff. And you're doing that every day, right?
So do
So
you
if you're
attribute
running
some
every
of the
day.
healthy? So that's what you're saying. You're attributing some of your health to your running.
Well, I attribute a lot of it to it. I would say the majority because before I got even on the streak, I've had situations where I've gained weight 3 times, but every time I do it, it's so painful to get back into shape that I swear I'm not going to do it again. And the last time I did that was before 2020, and I was still running every day, but I gained weight and I wasn't doing the big miles. And so, and what I mean by big miles is now I try to do around 2,000 running, and I'm integrating hiking a lot.
Okay.
So, because I found at the age of 66, 67 in December, it's a good idea to hike because it's a different platform when you're hiking.
Sure.
There's less. I try to run smooth and we can talk about stride mechanics because that was something I had to get into. I had to run efficiently and run pain-free and all that. And that didn't just happen for me. I had to,
When did that
I had
start?
to do it.
When did that start? Because you're now 18 years worth of a streak. You've learned
Yeah,
so
I would
much about how to
say,
run during that streak. So when did that first
I
start?
don't know the exact math, but it was early in. I had plantar fasciitis. And then I'm going to plug a book. It's an old book, and I don't use it now, but it was called Chi Running. And and I mean, this book's old. I mean, it's in the
Andy
90s.
Dreyer, baby.
Yeah, that's it. Chi Running. So I started doing that. I was a heel
When?
striker. And when you're a heel striker, you're susceptible when you start going long to, in my case, getting plantar fasciitis, and that's what happened to me. So I read his book, and I didn't even read it. I just sort of breezed through it, and then went out to the local park, Bartley Ranch, and immediately I started doing, landing on the forefoot and then pushing back for power. It's real quick movement, and it immediately it went away. Basically, my planners. It's crazy. It didn't take long, like 2 to 4 weeks.
Right. Once you learn the
And
mechanics of it, I think that's why
the
when
mechanics of not like banging. The other thing it taught me is like more of a level transition into the ground versus coming in steep. If that's your foot.
yeah,
Instead of coming in like that, you're coming in smooth,
yeah,
and then coming in, you're really trying to a smooth motion. And what I've changed from the Chi running over the years is he trained to like raise you're raising your arms and your legs similarly. And I don't do that now. I keep my hands down because, as you know, in ultra running, I mean, you could get lactic acid up here if you're doing too much of this stuff. So,
yeah.
but so I keep my hands down, but everything else is pretty much the same.
So when he came
But
out,
here's the thing about Chi. I got to make a point.
yeah, go ahead.
Chi is sort of the end of the chain because it's how your foot's hitting.
Yes.
And so when I started getting into running as an athlete, like from a physiological standpoint, then I realized, basically, I read this book, you got to get your arse into the action, so you're running from your hips.
Yeah, get them glutes activated.
Down the road, and then you get to how your feet are hitting the ground. And so I've really, in my, you can see my stride and you either like it or you don't. But for me, it's very efficient. And it allows me to run every day. So
thank you for that. Thank you for that explanation. And when Dreyer comes out with that in 2004, and it then a second edition, I think 2009, like it has had a real impact. And you're right. For the first time, it just got people to think about how they strike. So in the last 3 years, not just carbon plates, but as carbon plates is expensive, but now all brands, not forget the carbon plates, they got rocker panels. And the exact purpose is that. So it's almost like, but it makes it so that you, in a way, you don't have to think about it. So I'm glad you really talked about it. You had to realize.
Well, and another thing, you want to hear another big thing that I'm big into is strong feet. So, and I've done a little bit of actual where you're running on your bare feet, but it's the barefoot running methodology. If you go out and run barefooted, you can't do certain things that you could do in shoes that, like carbon plate shoes or those type of things. So even today, I run in the Lone Peaks, the Altra Lone Peaks, because I need a wide toe box. And they work perfect. I don't even have to break them in. I'm on the Lone Peak 9s. I think I started with the 6s, maybe the 5s. I can't remember. But, you can fold them up. And the 9s have a little bit more stability on the heel. But I find that's a benefit, not a detriment. But so I'm not using like heavy shoes, and I like the lower stack, and that's why I like the Lone Peaks. I like to feel the ground. I like to be on the ground. So
I haven't tried those yet, the Lone Peaks, but I do have a couple of different Ultras, the Torin 8s for Ultra that I run a lot.
And there's I'm not advocating one shoe or the other, but all I buy is Ultras now because I know that the last is going to work for me. So my wife worked she worked for Converse Shoes here in Reno. And so I learned a lot about how they make shoes and the last. And every manufacturer has their own special style that they use to develop their shoes. And I actually fought going to Ultras because I thought they looked weird. But once I made the move, I was all in. So. I'm wondering, I've never heard someone else say it out loud. That's exactly why I didn't get Ultras in the past. I'm like, what does it just so goofy? And then later when I read about his story and how the zero drop came into being and all that, I thought, well, I'll give him a try. So now that I have, my feet are very flexible, though I did go through a plantar fasciitis period that I got that resolved. But for trails now, I do prefer, in my trail shoe, I prefer zero drop because I do know exactly how my dorsiflexion, I know how much I can move. So my Olympus 6s are so far, I've tried so many different, but those are good for me. And that's perfect terminology. I didn't use that, but that's what I like, zero drop shoes. Exactly.
Yeah.
You can do zero drop with the bigger stack, I believe. Yeah. But I like the lower stack. Yeah, I see people now in these Ultras. I mean, they're like, maybe they do it because they want to gain a couple inches. Right?
Yeah, I did talk with some good feet doctors, including Dr. Tonya Olson, who's been on this podcast, and she worked at Michigan Bluff at Western States. Yeah. And she's she's the co-author with John von Hoff of the 7th edition of this, which is a Bible for, feet, fixing your feet and all things
Nice.
feet and running and remedies. And this is the first time I heard someone explain, is that zero drop shoes isn't for everybody. But if you have plenty of dorsiflexion, if you are good and you are mobile and you are flexible, then you can then in that instance, zero drop can make sense for you. But if you can't really lift your foot up too much, right, then you're going to put yourself. So it's better to start with a heel. If you just
and that's a great point. So that is an excellent point, because not everyone has the ability to do zero drop.
Exactly.
And so they're not for everybody. They're not. Exactly. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, for me personally, they work. But people have different ailments. And you know what else is weird? So I got to share this with you. I think one thing that's really helped me is I've never had a broken bone. And I've never had major ligament damage or anything like that. Even though I played sports all the way up, I was just lucky. I wasn't that good when I was younger, so I didn't have to go against the best athletes. And then when I grew into my body, as I like to say, when I was in the military, then I realized, I'm not, I'm a pretty decent athlete. But the sport that came to me easily was running. That was the only sport that I was decent at, even younger. So
I think the first DM I sent to you was like, I called you a unicorn, but it was really because it's 66 to go that long. Now I realize how appropriate it is. Bravo, congratulations, and what a human specimen you are to be 66 and not have ligament damage or broke a single bone. Jeez, man, that's pretty amazing. Your body.
The nose doesn't count, right? you can't count the nose. I think that's not technically. You can talk to your doctor friend. I don't think it's technically a bone.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right about that. So the Lone, I need a little stability in my foot, so that's why I didn't go with the Lone Peaks, because they have such great reviews and everything. So that's why I came into the Torrent 8s and gave them a try. Yeah. I love them.
And like I said, I mean, we're very fortunate in our society now where if you can afford them, running shoes, there's something for everybody out there, I think. And I don't like to pay. I'm going through a lot of shoes. So I think I look at the Lone Peaks, they're sort of in the middle of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And so I can buy them at a local running store, and they're not, they're like in the 140 range. I think is the retail on that. Right. So so go ahead.
So two things let's talk about your history in running with technology and shoes and all equipment changes. And then I don't want to forget about nutrition. I want to speak about nutrition.
Exactly.
So, but we're at Lone Peaks now. We're talking about shoes. So not even just a streak. That's just, you're a baby, just 18 years. You're going to get there. You're going to be a master eventually. Forget just a streak. But since you've been running all this time, what's been your experience with, technology and shoes and, the accoutrement of running? Used to be you just run. Now we got all kinds of stuff to occupy our time and money.
Well, it's interesting. So what really worked for me early on, because I was running marathons, were the Nike Frees. I can't tell you how many pairs of Nike Frees I went through. And there's the ones you can roll up like this.
Yeah.
And so that was my version of barefoot running.
Yeah.
Was the Nike Frees. And like I said, I went through pair after pair after pair. And when I got into trail running, I was using the crazy, like the super light ones. But then you got to be careful at every impact. And then for me, the Lone Peaks are like that happy medium where especially the nines, the LP nines, Lone Peak nines. They do have a stiffer heel, but everything else flexes, and the heel flex is just not as much as like I think the 8s and the 7s, and definitely the 6s. So
right. Kevin, you're such a fan of the Lone Peaks that now we had a little break here, and I ran back to see if I was trying to compare the Ultras to see, like, really, what am I going to do with respect to the Lone Peaks? And I realized that these Arahis that I just got, Arahi 8s, I have long, narrow feet. And so not all brands carry size 15s. And, ASICS carries more every single size you can imagine with varying widths. ASICS and New Balance were the only shoes for years, so I really could only actually get what I wanted if I picked ASICS or New Balance. But since your reference of Lone Peaks, I went and I doubled down to try a Hoka shoe, because Hoka doesn't make many size 15s. I got these Arahi 8s, and they're amazing. It's the first time I've had a rocker foam thing underneath. I've never had that. I don't have carbon plates, but I have one of those rocker foam shoes. And it could be my own brain. It could just be confirmation bias. But but when I went out there and ran, knowing I had this rocker foam in my shoe, and knowing that I wanted Hoka to have a shoe that supported me, you know what? I wanted to have a Hoka shoe I liked. And this was the first one I could ever try because it seemed to fit. And it worked. So I'm pretty excited about that. And so you just talked to us about Lone Peaks, which is great. And it made me realize over 18 years, which is a long streak, you're breathing rarefied air, even though, yes, of course, there are more than 100 people that have been doing this longer than you, but 100 people out of 7 billion is not that many. So this is rarefied air. But having said that, talk about equipment, and we can first talk about equipment, how equipment has changed over the years. You started about like shoes, but then I want to talk about, water bottles and watches and computers, so all the gear. And then after that, I want to spend time really talking about fuel and nutrition, because boy, that's changed a lot, right? So take a pick, but let's talk about equipment first. For 18 years, how has that changed over time?
Well, I think for me, when I was marathon training, we just wore like fanny pack type things, and just carried goo and all that. But since I've been doing the ultras, I actually have a pack. I'm actually on my second Salomon pack, and I'm not sure what the model is, but it has the bottles in the front, and it's very nice. You can put a lot of stuff in it, and you can travel quick. And then, so I love all the packs. In fact, I always wear the Salomon waist pack that they have. It's flexible, and you can put stuff in it. I'm wearing. Oh,
I didn't know about that. What do you mean? It's like for rucking? Like it's a weighted vest?
No, it's just another type of pack.
Okay, like a waist. I thought you said weighted. Okay.
It's waist. So
sorry, my bad.
And then there's has a place for your poles on the back.
Right. So this is what it looks like. Just pause for the audience. People understand. This guy's on a run streak, 18 years and going. That means he runs every day. Clearly, he wants to be prepared for a run at any moment. So he's wearing his waist belt.
Well, it's a great place to put all your stuff.
Right.
So
yeah. We don't. Yeah.
If you get forgetful, it's nice to have one place where everything is. Your phone, your keys,
I love it. Is there a little space for a water bottle in that one? Or no?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, the water, you can put stuff like this right here is the back of it. But let's see, I have a bottle here, you can just. Yeah. You just basically put it in the back here. Cool. And then there you go, and you put it on, and it's sitting in the back of your, you know.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
so
works.
you called you said the word fanny pack. We're old enough to remember what that is. I don't even nobody uses
Yeah.
that phrase anymore, but that's exactly what it
No.
is. It's just you carry it's a waist belt that has
Now
pockets on
it
it.
goes around your whole waist, and it's really neat technology. I mean, I love it. They're a little bit more expensive than a normal one. Like you can get like what do they call them? That I'm forgetting the name, but you can buy them on Amazon. Similar thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the Salomon's nice for running, and it's like $40 retail. So
Right. Are you that reminds me, are you a brand loyalist? Like once you find something that works like Salomon, would you get other Salomon stuff or not necessarily?
yeah, I do. I tend to, but just because I just like that product. But yeah, I use Salomon. I have Salomon poles, or I did. I actually got fleeced by nature in one of my runs. So,
Wait a minute. What is that?
in other words, I get done. I'm like
Yeah.
climbing through these aspen groves, and I
Yeah.
realize, oh, my poles aren't there. And I went back
Oh.
to try to find them, and I couldn't find a but I found a better route. If you look up my runs on Strava, you'll see what I'm talking about. But
Okay. So it was tracking you and you could tell on some run you went down and you scrambled around.
well,
looking
yeah,
for things.
I tried to go that same path, but then I thought I'm not doing that again. So I just said I'm donating these Salomon poles
Of course.
to, to
Right.
nature.
You know, how cool is it going to be at one point? Somebody's going to run through that before they learn that that's the wrong path, but they'll go there and they'll be like, oh, there's two poles.
Exactly.
So one of two things going to happen though, Kevin. They're going to be like, this is a sign. I'm coming back to this path every time. Or they're going to say, oh, some poor bastard has just learned what I'm learning right now. I'm going to thank
Well,
him
yeah,
for the
and
poles.
what's interesting about it, when you do some second, third time, when I went back to the same spot, and this is above Davis Creek, and it's off trail, and then I realized, oh, I can go over here, like slightly to the north, not much, probably maybe 200 yards, maybe a little bit more. And I was out of the aspens and the heavy vegetation, and then it was more like a scramble. And I love doing these things because it's good. It's a good workout. I don't go to the gym, so it keeps me in shape. So
I
you're
agree
just
with
like
that.
climbing up, and I always make sure I have 3 points and just go up.
Yeah.
And then you get exhilaration at the very end because it was super steep. So I'm thinking, I don't want to miss up here.
That's too steep. I have a park in LA in the middle of the Los Angeles called Griffith Park, and it's touristy and people go up and there's where they go to hike, and it's all well marked trails and pretty wide, and but there's a couple of steep little spots, and so I get out there and I really got to. That's how I have to cover my miles if I can't drive somewhere to go get it. So I've got my gear, I got my my vest on, and I'm an Ultra Spire fanatic, so all my
Okay.
outer gear is in Salomon. It's Ultra Spire, so I have a vest and a couple of waist belts. Just love them, just like you said. I just love them. In fact, 2 days ago I was. I was getting ready to do a run, and then a call happened, and I had to do something else. And I was walking down in the house with my stuff on, and my wife's like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I thought you were working." And I was like, "I am working. This is just my new uniform." And she was like, "Oh, get out of here! You're insane." She's like, so when I would here I am with all my gear in this touristy place in LA. People come on the weekends to go to Griffith Park. It's a big, big thing. And there's a bunch of little parts to it. But anyway, there's one relatively steep little hike. And if you're hiking and you're going slow, and it's worth it because people, if there's the first time, they see it, the top of the hill, it's a real objective. They get up to the top, but they're not necessarily huffing and puffing. And you can stop every 200 yards with a little lookout, right? So if you want.
Right.
So here I am looking like me, right? And I've got, usually don't do poles up that hill, but I do take poles because sometimes I have to do a workout with poles. But anyway,
Right.
I carry the poles. I'm loaded down. I probably got, probably at least 8 pounds of water and
Right.
stuff as I'm training, right? And so I look like a crazy mountain man that does not belong in Griffith Park because I'm trying to keep my pace and I'm keeping my steps the way I'm doing, and I'm perfect form. And there's like families, like little 6-year-olds looking, is like, Daddy, what's he doing? Like what,
Right.
And they can hear me coming, but if I'm slow enough, so sometimes I feel like it's a movie because they can hear me coming, 2 minutes away, and so they keep looking over their shoulders as though I'm going to move faster, but I just can't, and I don't.
Hey, you're holding your pace, right?
Exactly. So when I pass, sometimes people are. I love this little. Humans are great. Every once in a while, somebody's like, "Great job, man," and they say that only because they've been hearing me for 5 minutes trying to get past them, right? Like, oh my goodness. So. So you stick to Salomon because you've been using them for a long time.
That's what I've been using recently because it all works and it seems to work well together. That's why I like it. Like this Salomon waist pack that I showed you. My pole fit in there right, and that. Once I get new poles, so right now I'm poleless. But my next race is a 9-miler, and I don't really need poles. So
I see. Yes, you've done a lot of 50Ks. So when you do 50Ks, are you going to? I try to look at some of. I'm looking at monitors on the sides, and that's why when I look away. When you do a 50K, do you? Are you self-sufficient? Like, could you just go with the stuff that you have on you?
I could, but I don't. You want to stay lighter.
True.
And you have aid stations, so you want to utilize them. But sometimes they may have products that don't sit well with you, and so then I try to bring as much as my own self. And then if you have support. You can get at aid stations, you can get what you're using. But the answer is yes. I do have what I need, but I'm going through it. So 2 bottles, it's like a half liter, right? So
yeah.
And I'm probably going to use more through a whole 50K. So
yeah, I would imagine.
But then you just fill up your bottles. So, but yeah, but you could go lighter if you're trying to go fast. If it's an easier 50K, and I would definitely do that. Like on my 9.5 milers, these are mountain, like brutal runs. You're going up Peavine Mountain, and it's a steep climb. If you look on Ultra Sign Up, you'll see that I'm signed up. I think it's the 18th of October, 9.5 miles.
Yeah, Peavine Peak Hill Climb. What about the Hidden Valley Hammer? What the heck? That sounds like Hammer.
And it is. And, well, that's put on by firemen and a guy named Cody Mandeville. Hopefully I'm not butchering his last name. But they make it tough on purpose because, That race is interesting because last year I was I think I was the oldest person in the race, and all these youngsters are doing, 20 something. Age does matter, so.
You know what? It looks like, according to Ultrasign, if you're right, from last year, you're the oldest person running that race. Good for you. 89% age rank. Man, you're crushing it.
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
Yeah, you are.
It came down a little bit when you try to do stuff that's not in your, like try to do longer races, or too many of the 50Ks, then you can see my times, they go down. Right. And then I had the Broken Arrow. That's a great story where I was last. and you're talking about equipment, that's where I really upgraded my equipment, because they for the last person, they gave me a package, a new watch.
Oh, excellent. Wait a minute. When was that?
If you look at 2024 Broken Arrow, if you're looking at my Ultra sign up.
I'm trying. It's froze up on me, but okay. Okay, so 2024 Broken Arrow. That has. I didn't know about it.
You notice that the cutoff is 12 hours there, so I made it by 35 seconds. And my big excuse for that is I did the 18K the day ahead, and it was super hot, and I had a situation where I lost everything at the end, and everything out of my body, so I basically threw up.
Oof.
And then the next day I had the 18K, and it was also super hot, but I was the last person, so it got me like this watch, which is a Phoenix 7, some Lakey poles.
So wait a minute, you were the DFL? Is that what you mean?
I
like
was the DFL, yeah.
Okay. Wait a minute, and you got
First
swag?
one.
Oh, you are
Serious swag.
Holy smokes, man! Jeez,
there's actually a couple videos of me on there too, because where I'm high-fiving coming in, because there was a lot of people. They do it well. This year it was unfortunate. We got stopped. Anyone that wasn't like sub 7 hours. I got stopped at KT22, and so I actually didn't get a finish this year because of that. But it was lightning and snow, and
so which one was it? The 18K or the 46K? The
46K, the 18K, I did okay. I tried to be, because I knew the next day I had the 46K.
Yeah, good job. You still finished under 12 hours. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. So, and like this year, I would have been much faster. I was on a sub 10 pace this year.
Oh, wow. So go ahead, hold it up again. Phoenix 7 they gave out? That's pretty cool, man. $1,000 watch right there. Wow. What else? What other swag did you get?
I got, like I said, the Lakey poles, the adjustable, which are nice.
Wait a minute. Are those the ones you lost?
No, I lost the Salomon. They're my latest. What's nice about the Lakeys, though, is they're adjustable. So, and they were great. They're great to start with because you can figure out, what's the best centimeter for you. And in my case, it's 125. That's if I'm going to get a non-adjustable. And there's advantage of the non-adjustable, and they're sleeker, and there's less to go wrong with them. So
lighter and all that. When did you start running with poles? We're still talking about technology. And poles are exactly
I started after I was DFL at Broken Arrow in 2024 because I had poles, and there was a lot of people in that race, and they were using poles, but they weren't using them. You could tell they weren't comfortable with them.
Oh, they were not propelling themselves. They were not propelling themselves.
Exactly. They weren't. And so that impression was made. And so I ran like all my training runs almost for a whole year till the next Broken Arrow. So when I got into Broken Arrow, I still had the same Lakey poles. I eventually broke them after that. I broke one of the tips from overuse.
Right.
So, yeah.
I remember Jason Coop, Coach Coop, has some very specific opinions about poles. I liked them, and I got them because I wanted to see because I used them.
Right.
But then Coach Brian Pacenti from Altitude Endurance Coaching in Colorado, he's got a great podcast called Buckle Up, and he's an endurance runner. He just got his 10th Leadville buckle. Anyway, I heard him on a podcast a couple years ago, I think, about the time I was figuring them out. And I was using them, but for me, I was using them because when I'm exhausted and I'm trying to go up a hill, I was definitely letting my upper body do some work, right?
Right.
And so, but I wasn't certain that that's exactly how to use them, because when you watch people online, yeah, there's some people are like, why carry them? They don't look like they're doing anything. So Pacenti, Coach Pacenti was used the phrase. He said, "Look, if you can use them comfortably to propel yourself forward,
exactly,
get them."
That's
right?
when
So
you want to use them.
Right. So when he said it and I heard that phrase, I'm like, oh, that is what I'm trying to do here. So now, purposefully, now I pick them out only when I really think I'm going to need them. And when I'm training, certainly in my little park in Griffith Park, I have to go up and down a bunch of times to hit like 4,000 feet of vert. Like I really got to work to get the vertical. Yeah. And so there's no times when poles really are necessary in that park, but every time I drive somewhere else, go to Sean O'Brien 50K I did. I'm doing the 100K in a couple months.
I actually DNF'd. If you look down at the bottom there, was a 2023 the 100K. So I got
what's that?
Timed out.
What happened? Yeah. What happened with that?
I just got timed out. Because on the 100Ks, they're Western State qualifiers. And so they're tough. I mean, you got to, and it's a new sport. In my opinion, when you go over 50 miles, it's a new sport. So
I agree. And it's the good thing is, first of all, because you run every day and you have for 18 years, and because we know there are people who can run more than twice that. So you're
I mean, now they're doing 300, 500. I mean, it's insane.
No. I mean, now distances. I mean, run streaks like you can definitely get to 36 years. Right? If you wanted, right, you can keep going.
Right.
So as you watch the development, which is this conversation, you know, in 18 years, so much thing has changed. And so poles really are a real thing that have changed. And when you use them, have you used them in races or times when it's been very effective and you were like, oh, it's a critical piece of the equipment yet?
Well, you know what it was unfortunate, but Broken Arrow it's a 2-loop course, so it's 23 Ks twice. And so I got in at like 4:30, which I was very happy with. I actually was running with a guy named Andrew, and I just stuck with him, like ego control, so I don't go out too fast. And I already made that mistake at Broken Arrow the year prior.
Okay.
But anyway, we got there at 4.5, and then I started trucking along. And like I said, I felt good. I fueled up, and I was loose now. I did a 23K, and I was passing everyone up until they stopped me, using my poles to propel. And people even commented that, wow, you could tell the poles were helping you.
Yeah.
So that was the one time they helped me, but I didn't get a result because they canceled the race. So.
Well, that's different. That's a different kind of DNF. Yeah. For sure.
Well, and they don't even list it. It just doesn't show the 2025.
Right. My I'm doing my next race is in the same day that you're doing yours. That hammer race. I'm doing one in Vegas. And but it doesn't have much vert at all, and so over 100K, it's less than 3,000 feet. So I haven't run in the heat like this, so I'm doing it. But I really wanted to give myself an opportunity. I didn't want a flat course, and I didn't want too much road. And I was on the wait list for Javelina, and I just knew I wasn't going to get in. So I found this other race, and my coach was like, "Well, you should take poles." I'm like, well, they don't outlaw them, but I don't know. I mean, there's no single, it's not like the 2,000 feet of gain in the thing is like one big hill. It's not. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do. But I do train to I carry everything, even when even on smaller races. So when I have an Ultra Spire pack and I load it up with all kind of stuff. So it's heavy, including all the water. I have a bladder in the back and but so I just carry everything. I figure, it's not a bad thing. It's like a weighted vest, right? It's kind of, it's no downside to that. Shoes,
you interviewed John Parks. That's one of his training methods. So weighted packs.
Weighted packs. Yeah. And I think that's a good, I've run, I don't know if you ever trained with an actual weighted vest, but it is very different than having a weighted pack. And so, so I trained with a weighted vest to do the Tough Ruck in Boston, which is first responders and vets. I'm like you, right? I don't know if you ever heard of it. I'd never heard of the Tough Ruck, but I knew I learned that the only way I could get a Boston medal, I wasn't going to be qualifying for Boston, but the only way I could get myself a Boston medal was to have it awarded by the Boston Athletic Association. So the day before Marathon Monday, they put on something called the Tough Ruck. So you have to wear a rucksack, and so in training for that. And you have to carry minimum 35 pounds to be at the high level, or I forget, heavy division, whatever it's called. I ended up completing with a 42-pound rucksack, only because I couldn't measure the weight too well. But I trained with the weighted vest, and the weighted vest with weights on the front and on the back, it's just very different. It's like kind of like it's like if you weighed 50 pounds more because of cheeseburgers, right? That's kind of what it would be like. So I ran with it, and it was like a little suffocating, and it was like I did it. But when I then once I got my rucksack, I had to go reacquire all this military gear from the Cold War era when I served, right? So I had to reassemble my uniform. And I got the Alice pack, exactly the ones that they issued in 1982. And so it was crazy how equipment has changed over time. But I got that. Yeah. And after that, I started to put the weighted vest in the rucksack. So that was very different experience, and I'm glad I did it, because I had to, knowing this was the pack I'd be carrying, just like with your Salomon vest or my Ultra Aspire, knowing the one I'm going to be running with, as Parks, John Parks' point was like, it's wear the thing you're going to be carrying and load that up with weight, and then just see how it is, right? So if I wouldn't have done that, I don't think I would have had as much fun anyway when I did do the Tough Ruck, because I didn't have a weighted vest on, but I had to fill the I did have a couple of weights, though. I think I had to have at least 10 or 15 pounds of the weights from my weight vest. They came out of the vest, right? They're like little chunks, look like candy bars. And I think I carried like 10 or 15 pounds of that in the stack, because it was only a marathon distance. I knew it was only going to take, even if it took me 9 hours to ruck this thing, because you're marching through.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't, it's not, water and snacks, and I didn't. How was it going to get that much weight in there? The guys who were still on active duty, they of course had their actual gear and actual equipment, and they were still had to weigh, instead of weigh 35 pounds, but I think they set those measurements based on what type of gear you might have as a combat, blah 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 blah. Anyway, so that's when I learned. And I also learned, it's only just for the race. So your Salomon gear, right, that's all perfect, but all it really needs to do is survive to the end of that race. Because if it breaks down on you when you finish, okay, we celebrate it, hang it up, retire the gear, right? When I did that Tough Ruck, and I had this 1984 Alice pack, Army issued, and they had at the time incorporated some metal but some plastic latches on the thing. So there was metal and plastic, and this was all original issue, right? But it's the U.S. Army, so it's not like it's highest grade. This is, this is what they give all the soldiers, right? So literally on the last mile, I'm coming in, and you're running the streets of in the battlefields of Lexington and Concord outside of Boston. It's pretty historic. It's so cool. But you run through a bunch of parks in the cities, but you start there, then you end there by going through the park, right? So it's very cool. And but for the last mile, I'm chugging my thing. I'm chugging and shuffling, really. But the straps, one of the straps just breaks. I mean, it just breaks because, it's old. It's vintage material. So it's vintage like me. So the thing just busts. And I'm like, well, okay. So now I hold one, and then I'm realizing, that's not going to do it. So anyway, I was able to grab it, and I just held it onto my back the whole way. But it made it feel like even more of an accomplishment, right? Because it's not like I could duct tape it. There was none of that, and it wasn't Moab. It's not a 200-mile race. It's not even a 100-mile race. It's a marathon. I mean, come on, right? So it was pretty funny, and it made for a good story. And I felt in that moment, I thought, wow, talk about a purpose-driven purchase, right? So I would have not had to buy an Alice pack from 1984 had I not needed to buy an Alice pack from 1984. So I find one and I get it and I use it. And it was as though this Alice pack, who has lived for decades and decades now and was in service for years and then was pulled out of service, I pulled it back into service one last go.
One last time.
And it gave me every ounce of strength it could until it gave out. And it was like, good, come on. So it was kind of funny. But I mean, I thought of it. I thought of I wanted to, what do they call onomatopoeia? When you give some human and characteristics to a non-human thing, right? Whatever. Anyway. That little Alice pack, like I was celebrating it the whole time. I'm like, you stayed with us till the very end. You're as old as I am, and you made it. Congratulations.
I'd love to comment on Boston because I was fortunate. I got to run Boston twice. And I got to tell you, I see why people go back and back and back to Boston because it's a unique experience. And, the New York Marathon is similar, which I haven't been able to do because you're running through I believe it's 5 boroughs.
Yeah, all 5 boroughs, yeah.
But in Boston, it's just such a tradition, and the crowds are huge throughout the course. And then in 2019, the last time I ran it, it was just exhilarating, and I was thrashed. I got surprised by the humidity, and I didn't adjust for the humidity, my pace.
Okay.
And so at the end, it was just like brutal. But I even managed to get a little sprint going. I don't know if you could call it that.
Yeah, you would. Yes, we will call it a sprint.
It just makes such an impression on your brain, and that was in 2019. So that was like 6 years ago. But it does, Boston is something just for that aspect. And you have to qualify so that puts you in, I think, at least the top 20 percentile in your age group if you're running Boston, if you qualify.
Right. So, I think I heard this year even they upped the numbers by
they did. But luckily for, this is run long after 60, they didn't change the time.
Right, for the 60-year-old.
On the 60-year-olds, yeah. I think it stayed the same. So, yeah, it's 4:05 for me. And then, and I'm 66, soon to be 67, so.
Will you go back?
Well, definitely. I plan to go back, actually, to do, because I have 2. It's sunny. I'd like to get 3. In fact,
it has a nice ring to it.
Yeah, it does. And I'm actually thinking about doing a street type, or I'm sorry, what qualifies as a trail marathon. We have one here in Susanville, which is an hour and a half away from Reno. That's Susanville, California. It's called the Biz Johnson. And in fact, that's happening, I believe it's this Saturday. Yeah, the 11th. 2025 Biz Johnson. And that's a Boston qualifier, that marathon. And it's on the dirt, so you don't have the impact. But, it's funny, running on pavement, there's an ease to it because you're not slipping. There's no slippage.
Looks like you did that twice, Biz Johnson twice.
I've done it twice, yeah.
Right.
My best time, I think, is a 3:22.
Yeah, pretty good. Well, see, and so that's a marathon distance, right? Marathon distance, but it's on the trails?
Yeah, it's on a trail, and it's unique race in that the Biz Johnson, was a railroad, and correct me, I could be wrong on this, but the maximum grade on a railroad track is 6%. So in the beginning of the race, so for the first 10K, there's a slight uphill. You're going up, but for what we do, it's minimal. I think they say it's like 300 feet or 350 feet in that neighborhood. And then it's all downhill from there.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's a slight grade, so you can just sort of get into a rhythm and get it going. But if I could do a sub 405, I don't know how much time you need. But when I qualified, check this out, when I was 59, I used the Mesa Phoenix Marathon to qualify, and I actually got a 3:28 in that.
Wow.
So and the significance of that is it gave me the first, you can register on first day. So you're going to get in, you don't have to worry about losing, changing your plans. You're going to get in. So
the other that's the other thing that's impressive about is that you're at the end of the age group, no matter how you look at it. So at 59, when you put in a performance like that at the end of an age group, wow, that's impressive.
Right. But there's other people out there, so I didn't.
No, I know, I get it. I'm just saying, we're just talking about you. I get you.
And, dude, I was so happy with that. And check out. So another thing, I've had a history of going out too fast. Okay. And even when I think I'm not going out too fast, I have gone out too fast. And then it's just like kaboom. At mile 20 in a marathon or in a 50K, whenever it is, 20, 25 miles into, you got 6 more miles. And so in that one, I ran, they have pacing. That's another nice thing about marathons, the bigger ones. And so I was running with the 3:30 group. And then at the very end, I was feeling good. And this big old guy went by me, and I'm thinking, there's my race. I always do that. There's my race. And I get behind him, and I'm all excited because I have someone to follow. And then he goes like a mile and stops. And I look at the guy like, dude,
Oh, no.
And he looks at me like, he even said, hey, sorry, man, I'm out, I'm out of gas.
Oh, my God, he totally Forrest Gumped.
And then this gal came up to me, and we're going back and forth. And I think that's one of the reasons I got a sub 3:28, in the 3:30 group. But, so it's exciting. But then you can look at I don't know if you have my marathons up. But if you go to like marathonguide.com and look at my Boston in 2019, it was like 4, it was over 4, which I have just a few that were over 4. But it's interesting. It's all about training, because I also at CIM, my last CIM, if you look me up, I did 5 hours and 55 minutes. And the story behind that one is I didn't train. I was just doing my streak savers. I was just doing like 2 miles and this and that. And then I got a discounted entry. It came to me via email. And I said, what the heck? And I did it thinking I want to see what I could do without training. And it was very slow, but I made it. And I went too fast on that one. I was going like at a 4-hour pace, and that was way too fast. And so I just walked it in. But I got sub 6, and I never had to worry about cutoff or anything like that. So a lot of times on a marathon, if you're on a 6-hour pace, they may cut you.
Yeah.
So that was
5:54. Well, you
my
made it.
story of me testing myself. Because I always said to people, it's not hard to do a marathon if you're in shape, especially, if you're a runner and you're younger. It's about the pacing and how long it's going to take you, to get through it. And I proved that for myself. So my longest marathon on record for me is 5 hours and 55 minutes. So
Yeah, that's the CIM that you just talked about, right? Yep.
that's the last CIM I did.
Yep. And then, Reno Red Rock and River Marathon 324.
Yeah.
Man, you're flying. But what's interesting is the consistency as you pulled it up. And yes, it is from the Marathon Guide. You're pretty consistent in your level of fitness and how you bring it to a race, because honestly, I'm no marathon runner and I'm not an elite athlete and all that. But when you finish so close within just a couple of minutes, over 26.2 miles and a couple of hours, that's pretty darn good, man. You're just so consistent. That's why the super slow ones or the ones that are, there's really no anomalies. Even your fastest one is not an anomaly. 324 is not an anomaly. It was super fast and it was great, but it's not like, people would check the equipment if it was like you went at 301. That's different.
Are you talking about my CIM? My fastest CIM is actually 314 and some change. So Hey, I worked for that. I want the right time on there.
Oh, wait a second. It said load more. I forgot to load more. Holy. Your first one, 314. Okay.
Yeah. And that's my PR. And remember, and I have the same thing on my 50K. My fastest 50K is my first, which is in 2001. And my fastest, and I totally blew up. I mean, the only reason I was able to finish decently, I was 129 at the half. So I was trying to do a sub 3. Okay. And then kaboom at about mile 18. And I knew I was going too fast, but I was trying to figure out, what do I do? It was my first marathon. And then I thought, well, I have 4 50Ks under my belt. Worst case scenario, I just tough guy it in. I just buckle down one foot after the other. And that's what I ended up doing. And it ended up being my PR. So goes to show you, just keep, the moral of the story is one foot after another. And by the way, that's one of my big strategies,
What's that? One foot after another?
Yeah. Hey, let me grab mine. I actually have mine here. Where am I? This is my marathon pile. You mind if I grab it?
No, of course. Look at that.
But here's my...
Off camera, someone says, what kind of humble brag is that? The guy moves his rack and it clatters more than you can even imagine, indicating.
So this one is the 2019.
Nice.
And look at the evolution. I love this. This was the 2007. It's quite a bit smaller. Let's compare the two.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love that. That's an example of a good improvement, I think. Did you ever see?
Yeah.
I don't. What's that? Well, since we're at it, and you got a bunch of them hanging up there, why not?
Yeah.
What's the biggest one over there? Like over your shoulder? What is there? Some? You ever see some without winning or taking a podium? Some of these medals are just so big. It's beautiful. I love it. It's like incentivizes people. Like, oh, look at this medal.
So, some of the big ones are the cow. My favorite one is, hopefully I have it on here. It's a cowbell. Oh, I just heard it. Hear that? Yeah. Oh, this is crazy. Yeah, so the different things. So this is CIM always gives you a nice size.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah, that's a good one.
And I have 5 of those, I believe. And then this one is the cowbell. This was the race where the streak started. the day before that.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is like one of my favorite, and I got a decent time. And that was the race where I started my streak. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you for showing me that. That's so cool. That is so cool, man.
Well, that's all we get, right? People ask you why you do it, and you do it for these are the in my mind, they're like, you got to work hard to get it. Participation awards.
Yeah.
They're not just handing them to you,
I think that is a brilliant way to say it, because when I say that to people too, I'm like, well, it's like I'm like, when people dog on, usually in the education context, oh, it's just a participation medal. Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody. Well, in the context of kids and getting something, I don't mind it at all, because you do put in the work. You don't have to get the right. So it is an appreciation medal. And then as an adult, I was talking to some parents about it. I'm like, wait a minute, man. If it wasn't for appreciation medals, I wouldn't have any, because I'm not getting on the podium. I'm not winning anything, but I paid my money, I paid my dues, and I trained my butt off. And if I don't complete it, I won't get the medal. Right? So it's not about being first, but I tell them it's just about, it's a lesson to just keep at it, right?
Well, and what's funny is, so my whole bottom roll here, I'm going to move this up because I think it's relevant to what we're talking about here. So I don't know if you can see this.
I can. But it's awesome.
All these things, a lot of these are, I got a 50K in there. See, I got to move that. That goes up here.
Oh, okay. So I see the ultras.
Yeah, if you look at all these type things, these were, a lot of times I am getting on the podium. First, second, or third. They're they're local 5K, 10K races. So I got to experience the excitement of being on the podium in local races.
That's cool, man. Great.
But I was never fast enough. Age group. These are age group.
Okay.
But I was never fast enough to do like regional,
Sure.
But so that's how that works. So, and I still get on the podium locally. So it's more work though, because I'm at the end of. So that's the other thing. So it's sort of my thing. So in ultra world, it's 10 years. Like we're 60 to 69.
Right.
But in the marathoning world, it's every 5 years.
Yeah, every 4 years.
That's a big difference. I mean, there's a big difference. I can show you on my Strava. I mean, my times when I was 60, 61 are so much faster
than 66.
I don't feel like I trained any harder or than they are now, but I'm enjoying it. I got to say, I think I'm enjoying it more now than I ever did.
Okay.
So that's the advantage. But if you get egocentric, here's my point. For me personally, if I focus on my times, it'd be discouraging maybe. But so I don't do it. I just look at, hey, I'm glad I did that back then, but this is where I'm at now. This is my reality, and I'm going to do the best job I can do now.
It's so healthy, and yes, I do know, and I celebrate you, man, and applaud you. It's fascinating. Before we go into food, because I want to talk about nutrition, but let's segue off of what you just said. So once I heard who you were and understood what you were doing, did look up how many people are doing this, and I realized, God, out of billions of people, how can it's possible that you're higher than a ranked 200, like you're 150? How can that be? One human being be that close, right? So it is definitely rarefied air, and it's interesting and exciting. But what's coolest about it is I love your Strava feeds and how you decide to show them off, because it's just perfect, because you're always smiling, but it's not sense that you're posing for anything. You're
No.
just this guy who's running.
Well,
and he's
you
happy
were
about it.
talking medals, and I thought, hey, I got them right here. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Because let me ask you something. Who sees your medals? No one sees mine.
No, but that's why I'm saying, you know what? I hope this, here's what I hope. I'm going to have work to do this. Like this podcast, more people you need to be in more podcast rooms like this because you're a funny guy and you're interesting and it's insane. And I love the reveal because that's really what it is. Like it was like you're talking about.
I revealed. I'm sorry. Yeah,
No,
that's probably. I probably went too far.
No, I'm telling you, no. It is a perfect. You'd be like, as you test your camera for the next guy, you're like, you should ask a guy, which one do you prefer? And say like this or hang on a second, and then you grab the thing. It's like because it's so impressive. And here's why it's impressive. Here's another reason why I love it. Now, mine. The reason these handful of medals that I do have, the reason they're spread out like that is because cocky, confident, overconfident me. I had a little rack, and I thought, oh, I need more. I'm going to need a bigger boat. So I got this big rack, and I had to space them out because otherwise it just looks so empty. So there's some people, and I see some posts like that. There are people who are just like walls everywhere, and so there's something so perfect about having those medals hung like you've got them because there are so many and they're just so many. But what's really great about it is that they're not precious. I mean, come on, you're not, if this was your livelihood, if you've paid for your children and your children's children and all that, or if you started a footwear company and now this is the backstory, right? That's that's why it's so powerful, Kevin, to just see you sitting there talking about it like that, and because all we know for sure, or one of the things we know for sure, we have a great confidence is that every single day you're going to go run every day.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to go run.
I'd like to make a comment on goals. So one of the reasons I love running so much is the goals they're more within your power to complete them. In business, you have all kinds of factors. You have, all the factors, what the marketplace is doing at that specific time. You have these goals, and you may work your tail off and still not meet the goal. But in running, you have that opportunity, especially you've seen I've been doing this a while. You learn, you keep learning every time you do a race. And then that's what I love so much about it. And even at like age 66, I can still meet my goals. I can still make goals. And now they're more about completion. And then if I win an age group, hallelujah. But it's more that way now. Before, it was like, in my 40s, when I got all my PRs, my mid 40s,
right?
I wanted to get on the podium every time.
Okay.
Type thing. So, but what the point I'm making is when you have a goal, like let's say you want to run the Boston Marathon, or like I didn't notice you having any 100-milers, but you signed up for a 200-miler. Right?
Yeah, I just turned 62, and in part talking to guys like you, I'm very confident in my my 50K. I'm very confident in what I'm doing now. But I just started. I decided I'm going to run 100 in April 2024 after I saw at Leone Divide. I was working at an aid station. A guy in his 60s came past running 100 miles. Like, wait, what are you doing? He's out of the mouth. Yeah. So I stepped aside and asked myself, what are you doing, Mark? Get the hell out there, right? So, because of talking to guys exactly like you, Kevin, because you're dialed in and we're over 60, we can do anything we want. So I came up with just like this, like doing a run streak is so unique, but it's within your power. It's within your power to start, and it's within your power to stop, right? Unless some things happen to do that. But the idea you worry about, there's illness.
Yeah, the great question I get is, I always get the question, how long are you going to keep the streak? And I'm thinking, as long as I can.
Yeah, it's a streak. What are you talking about?
As long as I can keep it, because I'm so into it, and the goal thing. You know, it's nice to like check the box. For me, I like to do that. I like to check the box. And every time you finish a race and you get your participation trophy over here, that's the Biz Jones. Or no, that's the that's Paiute Meadows. See, these are a new thing that's coming out too. They're not metal.
Yeah.
You know, and they're pretty cool. Yeah, and they're like custom. Yeah, you get these things and you go, hey, that's pretty nice. You know, that's some nice flash.
The goals. So let's point out something. Let's take a twist on the goal. So it's right about the races, but it's within your control so that your goal, one of the giant goals are objectives. I don't know if they're you're going to run every day. This is your streak as a priority. You're doing it.
Exactly.
So for me, when I do hard things and I pick things I haven't done before, but it's not just about more distance. But in this instance, I was like, I realized I wanted to run my age in miles, and 62 is 100K, right? So I've been for the last year, I'm like, I'm going to find the right race. So as soon as I turn 62, I'll run 100K. But in a way, I waited to do that in order so that I could say I ran my first 100K at 62. So what an odd, interesting, very new me objective. I mean, I could have, there was no real reason to wait. But once I did that, that's when it clicked. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I knew I'm going to do my first 100 race in 2026. I already scheduled that. And I thought, I'll do my first 100K, my first 100 miler. And then I realized, I told myself I would only jump into a lottery scenario when it was a race that I really wanted to do, for so many different reasons of it. And so when the Bigfoot lottery came up, so the 100-mile race is in April. I don't know how my body's going to be after 100 miles. We have no idea. However, what am I going to do? Wait and see how I recover and then decide? No, life's too short, man. So I signed up for the lottery in Bigfoot just in case if my name got drawn, I'm in. And I got drawn, so I whipped out the credit card, and I'm heading in August. So, so for me, it's not about the distance, and it's not even necessarily. The objective isn't to just get the medal. This is objective. I know one thing: I can control the training. I can control it. I can chop wood and carry water every single day. I'm not running a run streak, but. Because I definitely take a day off every once a week. But I mean, I'm doing the training. And so when that clicked in, I'm like, oh, that's how it's unique and consistent. And why wait? Either I can do it or I can't. I can toe the line. I might not finish.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was lottery. So that makes total sense why you have that on your schedule. Because if you win a lottery like that, why not? Why not take advantage of it? And like you said, you do have plenty of time to prepare, and you're talking to people who do this kind of thing.
Just
take care of your feet. I was looking at one of your podcasts about the feet. The gal seeing these.
Yeah, Tanya Olson. Oh, she's amazing. That's this. I don't know if you have this. If you don't have this, this is the Bible, man. Fixing your feet. John Bonhoff.
Yeah.
He's retired and he's doing something completely different now, focusing on what he loves.
Right.
And, so she took over, and she's pretty amazing. Yeah. And so she was the first kind of anomaly of that. But the 200 miles, it's not easy, but everything's related. So Sean O'Brien is a very tough 100K. Okay.
It is.
Kira Henninger, who puts on the Leona Divide and the Ray Miller and the Sean O'Brien, those are my races. I'm most familiar with them. That's the races I go to, right? So I did the Sean O'Brien 50K, but the 50K is very different than the 100K. It's just very much harder, all those things.
Yeah.
16,000 feet of elevation. So I know it's really hard, end of January, but in my mind, I'm like, well, wait a minute. The 100K Sean O'Brien is 16,000 feet of elevation. The 100 miler at Leona Divide, a couple months later, it's only 16,400 feet of elevation. And I've already run the Leona Divide 50-mile trail, right? So I'm like, so in my head, this is all training for the next thing. Yeah. And it allows me to just, what we don't know is my body. I know how my body's going to recover from 100K because it's not too much further than a 50-miler. But we'll see. We'll see. And the push will be I'm running 100 miles in April, and then being ready to go in August. And,
Right.
unbeknownst to my family and just yet, they know that I'm in, but they don't know the logistics of anything. So I'm really going to try to figure out how I can move up to Washington State and move up there maybe as early as May and just live and train and be up there
Oh,
for
really?
May, June, July through August.
Wow.
Bigfoot's 44,000 feet of gain. So
Yeah.
I feel that right. And so I really want to do it right. And I'm a lawyer and I'm licensed in California, not in Washington, but all my clients are all over the world. So if I could pull that off, to create a mobile office is my thinking anyway, create a mobile office in Washington State, see how it goes. See how it goes.
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, talk about a goal, where you are now and where you want to be next August. I mean, that's awesome.
I'm pretty excited about it. It was exciting and scary. This is the first big, hairy, audacious goal I've set that feels this way in years. And I've done many, but this was like, okay.
Right.
But then I looked at every detail about it. I'm like, no, this is exactly how it should go down. And I want to point out, too, in the destination trails with all these 200s, these giant races, the Aravaipa and destination trails, yes, there's a lottery, but that means they sell out. And so what they do is they open up lottery spots, so everything's sold out, right? That's how it works. Then they open up a lottery spot, and then they say, okay, for 30 extra people, we'll let you come in. But it's not like it's free. The moment you win the lottery, you put down that credit card. You got to pay, but still, you get to go in, and they didn't. You do have to have at least one 50-mile race. So in fact, because I just did Leona, I'm already qualified to do the 50 anyway, the 200 anyway. So, and I thought to myself, what if I was just going to train for the 200? What would I do? Well, it wouldn't look too dissimilar from what I'm doing already, right? As much vert as I can get when I go out, so we'll see. But the goals are important. And I think for me, it's about, how do you feel about, not revenge. I'm trying to remember what the right words are. But when you want to come back to a race, like you're gonna you want to come back to a race because you want to get revenge on that mountain, like you got pulled off, and or you feel like you've got unfinished business and you want to go back.
Exactly. Yeah.
Does that play a part sometimes in when you pick your races?
Well, for me, I just pick stuff that. I try to pick stuff that's close to me. I love doing things in one day. Like that's why I've been doing a lot of the Auburn 50Ks, because I can do them in one day. I wake up early, and like 4 of them last year I got to do with the buddies, so it was awesome. Okay. Because you're bonding with your buddy about running. What could be better than that? And then a 50K, the chances are you're both going to finish, which we did. Yeah, and then you just drive back. So you eat something and drive back. And with Auburn, it's about 1.5 miles. Or I'm sorry, 1.5 hours. So it's very doable. So I pick a lot of races based on that. And that's why I've only been to Boston twice. Because I had, throughout my career, 12 qualifiers for Boston. So 12 times that I could have went, but didn't go. So that's why I cherish the Bostons I have, Because it's a bigger expense. You go to Boston, the lodging, everything, It's the whole thing.
It cost me more so far. That's the most expensive race I've done because I had to get to Boston, hotel, rental car, hotel. But I was happy. One of my high school buddies was also running Boston. I didn't know he was even a runner. So he ran for charity. He had to raise like more than $12,000, which is a lot of money to raise, fundraise.
Yeah.
But if you're too slow, that's the only way you can get in. You get a charity bib, right? So he did that. And I agree with you. The vibe, the day before the marathon, I went to the expo, the Boston expo. Actually, no, wait a minute. It was Saturday. On Marathon Saturday is when I went to the expo and got to go to the memorial and all the things. And it was definitely electric. It was amazing. And that was on Saturday because the Tough Ruck was on Sunday. So I loved it, but it was a big expense. And I did it because of that. You know, I wanted one of those Boston medals over my shoulder. Yeah. I really knew that was the only way I'd get it was to do like that. And there's Sean O'Brien and the other races that might fit this. And I'm going to Vegas, so that's cost a couple dollars too.
Yeah.
And I ride a motorcycle, and so it's an extra layer of challenge. If I'm going to ride or drive to get to the race, it's kind of exhausting to do a long distance ride a day or two before a long distance run. So anyway, good problems.
That's a good problem to have. But you're doing two things you love, right? We're assuming you love to do both these things.
Absolutely. Wouldn't have it any other way. Absolutely. I feel
so,
like
and that's the whole thing. I mean, for me, it was really the only sport that I was consistently decent at was running. So it's nice to, this podcast is running along over 60. Just to be running over 60 is awesome. And then the fact that and the other thing I like about it is the difference in the people. Example, from the people in a 10K, and then the people in like a 50K, there's another level of commitment in most cases. You know what I mean? And that's exciting. So you're around people that are accomplishing things, big things, for themselves. And you're part of that, so it's special.
I agree. It's really part of it's a really unique experience. And the more I have gotten people, or I've seen on Instagram, people like, women primarily, they're saying, well, I'd like to fit into a community, but it's scary. And I showed up and nobody really talked to me. And so I was able to weigh in and say, look, you got to just keep coming back. Because once you're there for 3 or 4 times, people will talk to you because some goofy thing will happen on the trail. Somebody has stubbed their toe. You're going to see a bunch of coyotes. There will be some unifying element. It's so hot today. Right. It's probably, does anybody have any salt pills? Like whatever it is.
Exactly.
And so you're able. I told them. I tried to convey, like, look, just show up and be of service.
Right.
If you show up willing to help somebody else and don't have an expectation about you, you're already going to get a benefit just by being with people, whether you have any interactions with them or not.
Exactly. Well, and like if you're interacting like with the volunteers, these are normally very happy people. That's been my experience. I don't know about you, but I mean, they're trying to pump you up. You're coming to an aid station. Yeah. They know you're just halfway. And, it's the joke. You're almost there. Hey, you only got 25K,
Exactly. You're the hill's almost over. Can you imagine?
But they're happy people. And I love it. I mean, sometimes I'm getting into myself, and then I go to an aid station and someone gives me a big smile and I smile back. And not only are you getting nutrition, but you're getting inspiration to carry on and complete your goal, which in my case nowadays is to finish. It's all about finishing. So
the more volunteer people,
so I can get my swag. I got to get that.
You got to get your swag, man. But the more, I don't know if you have an opportunity to volunteer, but I found that's the other thing I told these people. I was like, find a race and forget about racing. Just volunteer.
Yeah.
Go when you
Yeah.
go there, because that is infectious. And I think you're right.
Yeah.
I don't remember some grumpy pants as a volunteer at any race. I think they're not invited. Like, it's not, we don't need you. Thank you for the offer to help, but no. And
you can't do that.
I just love it.
And it's fun. I mean, a lot of times they give you swag, they give you a shirt,
Yeah.
and so, and it is actually a good, if someone wants to get into it,
Yeah.
that's not a bad way to go.
I agree.
And just do your training, and volunteer in a couple of these big events.
Exactly.
And,
because you know what I say. Everyone needs more cowbell, baby.
Yeah. See, and I don't have
That's a good one. That is a valuable piece of swag. But I don't know if you have anybody in the house. But if you want food, you could ring that bell. Like, that sounds like
good
food.
Yeah, I get my own food.
Yeah, of course. So let's talk about food. So let's go back in like 18 years. We know our bodies. That's the other thing. Once we turn 60 or whatever, as we get older, I don't know about you, but often we've probably gone through many different types of food and fuel consumption.
Yeah.
I only started to use the word fuel probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Even when I started running, I was still not using that word. But now in my head, it's a construct that makes sense. So you've been running for 18 years, a lot longer than that. Talk about your food, journey since you started running decades ago.
Well, I got to say that, I've always tried to eat healthy. And I've always tried to eat like whole foods, like eggs and meat and chicken for protein. And then I love fruit, so I eat a lot of fruit. And, that's where I get a lot of my fiber, beans. I always try to eat well.
Okay.
But I notice now, this thing's over 60, right? This podcast. I need my protein more so for recovery. I find that it works the best, like some type of, and I try to do it every morning. That's like my reset. So that's the big thing I do now that
From Messenger.
I could get away with not doing that. My phone went up. I could get away with not doing that when I was younger. And so I would eat, more processed carbs. And now I try to limit that. But in the races, I actually bring like Cliff Bars.
Okay.
They work well for me.
Cliff Bars.
And they actually have a good rating on, what's that app? Where you scan things and they tell you, oh, this is bad. This is good.
Whether it's processed or not.
Yeah.
How do you deal with sodium and electrolytes?
So now, it's funny. So I've tried all these things like Tailwind, all these various things, and for some reason they didn't work for me. So for me personally, I'm back to calorie Gatorade. That's what I'm doing now. So, it's like 20 ounces, it's 140 calories. And I just like it because it's efficient. And the other thing is I drink filtered water, and I have for years. And sometimes you go to these aid stations, and it's like tap water. And I could like taste the chlorine. It's like, what am I drinking? So at aid stations and races, if they don't have the word I'm looking for, but the electrolyte replacement drinks that I feel comfortable with, I'll go with like Coke. Coke works great, so I'll do those type of things because the water is just like, I don't want to I want to drink the Coke, not so much the water. So,
Right.
and that's why you asked me prior, I'm back to Gatorade, and I like another product that I've had good luck with is the Never Second.
Oh, you've tried.
And
Okay.
I like this one specifically because it's 75 milligrams coffee, and I like the coffee. I like the caffeine.
Okay.
And so, it works well. So for me, and what's nice about these things is they're in liquid form. And so you could have a bunch of these, and I could get away with a bunch of these and just my half liter of Gatorade in each bottle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I could do a 50K easily with these
Wow.
Never Seconds,
Okay.
type thing. But what I'll do, here's what I'll do every time, is I'll finish one of my bottles and have that for Coke. Because I don't know what it is. I'm not the only one either. I'll be talking to people out there and they go, "Oh, I just had a Coke. It lifted me up. I feel like I'm high on Coke." That's what this guy told me. And I'm going, "Hey, whatever works, brother. Let's do
You're like,
it."
wait a minute, what kind of Coke did you have, man? Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, was it the real Coke?
Right. What are you talking about? Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that reaction. I also seen a lot of aid stops, like YouTube videos where the person's coming through and they put in their bottle and literally it's Coke, like, okay, thank you. And they head off in their flask with Coke in it. So okay.
Yeah, and I do that. Another thing that they do in Europe, and I learned, is they do sparkling water because it settles the stomach. If you don't want to get all the sugar and all that stuff in your system, the sparkling water works well. And so I've been experimenting with this on my runs because there's something about the carbonation that can settle your stomach if it's starting to get irritable, for me personally.
Right.
So you can mix like, 3/4 Gatorade and then a little bit of the sparkling water. And like this one is a mixture right here, but like one of these things. And it's just awesome, and then that way you have sort of both in your bottles. But what's interesting, there's one drawback from carbonation is you gotta, your bottle will like expand crazily. You know what I mean? If you put it in like your Salomon flask, and so I've learned to do this. I don't just go in. It's like,
right.
you like bite down on it, let the
you gotta vent it out,
and then drink. So
that makes sense. Yeah, before we move off of bubbly things, so sodium bicarbonate, bicarb, right, has been a new thing, and David and Megan Roach, who are super high carb, really push high carb, and high carb, not necessarily vegan, but some vegan, some not, but high carb.
Yeah.
So they use this bicarbonate, sodium bicarbonate, so that they can, help settle the stomach. Because if you're running super fast and you're doing 5 gels, whatever, so many gels, you go through a race, you got 40, 50 of those gels that you really do. Each person has to figure out their own system.
Yeah.
So I did.
And you hit on a main point that I'd like to make is and you mentioned it in your training, how people tell you to do this, they tell you don't race, experienced runners tell you don't do anything that you don't normally do on race day. And I don't necessarily do that because, I don't always get watermelon, but if it's there, I'm going to do it.
Right, no, I agree. There are some exceptions. I agree.
Yeah, there's exceptions, but you definitely, and it's an and, not a but, you want to train with the similar type concept that you're going to use, or your strategy, your fueling strategy in training. And then that way, when you get into the event, you have an idea what you want to do. And I think that's very helpful.
Yeah, I think that's 100% right. And so when you, so you've already described how you have a combination of liquid calories and liquid, right? You have some liquid electrolytes anyway.
Right.
You have water and electrolytes.
And I do the regular goo also. So I like right now I'm on a salted watermelon kick with the goo products.
Okay.
But they got a bunch.
Yeah, there are plenty. I had it's all
And
done now.
Yeah. And the thing I noticed, so like these Never Second products, for instance, you don't need water with them. That's what I found. With the goo,
because they're liquid.
You want to, they're best if you take,
something else.
You down your goo and then you hit your bottle a little bit. So
yeah. I trained with them for a while in years past, but in the last year and a half, I had a tooth accident, and so I had to wear a retainer. And so in the process of wearing the retainer, just like a mouth guard, right? Not like metal, but it was a retainer.
Right.
And so in the process of that, it was just a pain in the butt, and I didn't want to have to eat and take it out and eat and then what? Right. It was just impossible.
Yeah.
So when I could keep it in and I could chew stuff, but it just got I just hated the idea. The experience of it. So that's when I had this great opportunity to just try to train on liquid alone. So I did kick all the tires of the various type of products. I'd scratch but for me, opposite of your experience, for me, Tailwind was just a home run. And so awesome. I did the Leona Divide 50 miler, my first 50 miler, only 50 miler up to this point in time. And nothing touched my lips, nothing passed my lips except Tailwind. Not a potato chip, not anything, right? And I was doing it to see if it could work, right? And it just felt fantastic. I didn't lose any weight during the whole thing, so I was eating enough. So by the time of the next day, I didn't lose any weight, and I didn't gain any weight. And I was lucky in that the stomach was never. I just never had an issue. But that's a 50 miles. So now though at 60 at 100K. So I'm now that the tooth, I don't have a retainer anymore. I'm getting from the feed. I didn't put in any Never Second. I think I'll go grab some of those too, because I have a couple of weeks to. Really some great training. A great training module now between now and race 3 weeks from now, and I'm going to be trying other things because just. All I've trained so far all this time is Tailwind. I haven't had a gel for so long. Well,
that is incredible because a lot of these races use Tailwind now. So that makes it nice. If if what you're using is at the aid station, that's great. That's less than that you have to carry.
Right.
And then you're going to have, like in a 100-miler, that you're going to be able to utilize the aid stations, and it's something that you're already used to. So
I am trying
to use your waist pack, right?
I could. I got a new one.
Cut down the weight. Just use your waist pack. And
one thing I realize is that I can't. There is a limit to how much liquid I could carry. And so part of what I'm trying to do is I do have to have I want a combination of, I use assist gels. I've used them before, anything that's really liquidy. So I'm trying to get the right mix so that I could, I can still carry, 3.5 liters of water without having to refill. And I do have another liter. If I wore both my vest and my waist belt, that's another liter. Right. So anyway, I'm playing around and trying to figure it out. I look like sometimes I feel like when I'm training, I look like one of those monkeys that claps the things together because I got like all kind of stuff as though I'm going out to the moon by myself for a week, right? And we know that's not happening. But
anyway. And I think for the people listening, I think you're proving to them that that you are going to have a great idea of what's going to work for you in the event. And then after the event, you can reevaluate, what worked, what didn't work. And that's what's great about running. You get to build. I mean, I started in the 5th grade, so I've been building on my knowledge my whole life. So that's
Right.
that's 56 years,
Right.
I think I was 10 in the 5th grade when I started running. So 56 years of experience. But it's a whole different thing when you go long distance. That's what I tell people, over 10 miles. Although, you could do a half marathon, for instance, 13.1 miles with similar strategies you use in a 10K. But it is different, You're doubling the distance and some. So from a 10K to a half marathon. So.
Yeah, that's very true. So one thing one thing we did in this conversation, Kevin, and this is so comfortable and you're so fun. I'm enjoying myself. I hope you are too. But what we really didn't focus on specifically is just to tell us any additional elements or stories of the streak itself. So we kept touching in and out of it, but I just want to. So what is for you? You described it's got to be at least a 1 mile. So talk about logistics, like. How do you record it? Where do you have to put it on? What happens if you forget to load Strava for a day? Like the logistics of the streak.
Yeah.
And then, let's start. Tell us that part.
Well, here's the thing. So you got to do your mile at least, right? So what if you leave your watch somewhere or something like that? You got to do manual. But what's nice about Strava is if you do a manual run, you just keep track of it. You could write it down on a piece of paper, and then you can do an entry. You can do a manual entry into Strava, and that's how I deal with it now. I love Strava. I've been a premium member since 2018, July 2018. So, and because I always felt like I wanted an online log. I mean, there's people that have streaks longer than mine. They're all manual. But I didn't have the headspace for that kind of thing. It just seemed like too much work.
Yeah,
so what I did in 2007 is I used another training log called Running Ahead. Okay. And so I have from 2007 to actually to 2019, because I was trying to keep 2 logs. I didn't know quite what to do. Okay. But then I just went. So for a while there, I just went to my Running Ahead. I actually went beyond July of 2018 when I switched over to, I was doing double entry, like making sure. I know it was crazy, but in 2018 I just made the move, and I love Strava, and I use all the data, so I love the data. I want to make a point that I don't go crazy. I mean, I don't let it change things, but I like seeing the trends on what I'm doing, and it just makes it for me enjoyable, so I use
talk about this, because Strava by itself is nothing. You got to have a way to record all this stuff. You could do it manually. So I see that we know that you have a beautiful Phoenix 7 now, but what have you for 18 years?
Okay, so check this out. So my first 50 miler, it was, oh man, I'm going to forget. You could probably see it there, but it's in Oakland Hills. It's a great race. I've done it twice. In fact, I got a pretty good time my second time. It was 10 hours and 40 minutes. I was very happy with that.
Okay. I'm
but my first one, actually, I was using my phone, with my Strava on my phone. And the problem was I was gaining miles, so I'm looking at my phone and it said 45 miles on it, but it was really only like 40. So I was gaining distance on my phone.
Wait a minute. Never in the history of wait a minute.
And like I'm talking to people on the trail with me and they're going, oh, wow, that's like bizarre.
Error. Flag on the field. No way. There's no way that Strava gives you extra miles. That's a flag.
Yeah, and well, if you look at my Strava entry on my first 50 miler, it actually says like 55 miles on there at the end. And so I had to like put on there, no, it was 50 miles and this was my official time.
Yeah.
But so that's what's nice about a watch. But I had like a inexpensive Coros.
Okay.
Because the battery life is good.
Yeah.
And that's what I was using prior to this. I don't have it here. And then, the first watch I started with doing all this was this Garmin.
It was a Garmin. It was a Garmin.
It's like a 40. Yeah.
Okay.
And so the watches are nice. And a little history, I actually started with the Garmins that looked like you had a satellite on your wrists. They were like that big.
Yeah.
Have you seen those?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
People go, what the heck's that? And like around here, I was cutting edge, baby. I had my Garmin.
Right.
And it was interesting because I'm running with guys that they say they have like an 18-mile route, And then you go, well, I've done it a couple times with my Garmin, and it's really 16.
Right.
And it's like, they don't want to hear that. But so people using watches now, and you can use the inexpensive watches. We're great with Strava. I guess what are they? They're like, I think the most I've ever paid for a watch myself is like $300. So,
right. Well, that Phoenix 7 is $1,000 watch. That's a good watch.
Well, yeah. I think you can get it cheaper now though, because they're to the Phoenix 8. So that's another trick, by the way, for shoes and any kind of gear is get the older gear. Like you can go on eBay, and a lot of times it'll work for you in your situation if you don't have the money, and then you can get the older gear. Yeah. Because I think the Phoenix 7 right now, I'm searching it, watch, I think you can get like almost new or, they're listed here. The Sapphire is the one I have is $751 on Amazon. Yeah. And you can get the less expensive 7 that's not the Pro for $579.
Yeah, I ended up suggesting to a couple clients, and one guy did it. Like he bought his Phoenix 6, and he got his for I think $600. And at the time, it was less than half of what you could do anywhere else. So mine, here's how I do it. Because I'm a brand loyalist for sure. I have the Phoenix 5X Pro, bought it the day it was released, and love it to death. Wow. Even replaced it once because one of the sensors wasn't working right, but they gave me another one. It was fine. But now I keep them unless you really need a different piece of data, right? So I keep it. And but now they finally are cycled out, so it won't update. It won't, they can't support it. So once they stop supporting it, that's why Apple's such an expert. They went to trade in every year or whatever. Oh, it's been 3 months. It's been 3 months since you bought the watch. You should get another one. You know what I mean? So I'm
looking right now at the Garmin Phoenix 8, the nice one, the 51
AMOLED.
This one, I think is like the 46 or 47. I'm not sure. Yeah. It is $1,200. So
you can get the stacked layer of the Phoenix 8, the new one with the new sensors and new lights. What it was, $19.99. I'm like, cheese and
that's right.
Woo!
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I'm looking at. So it's 1,200. Yeah.
So I'm on the list. You know, it's on my list, but I keep it keeps getting deprioritized. But this one, the moment that it would actually not work, it's a problem. And I did in the last couple of months. I'm running on the trails with some friends. Like the last couple of months, for the first time, I had to reset it completely because it would. I'd be running and it would just stop as though I paused it, and I didn't. And there was no way my wrist actually paused it, but whatever, good problems to have, right? So giving me all these little signals like, come on, man, let's just get enough. So, all right, what else about the run streak that we haven't talked about? Has it impacted your friend groups, your family members? Like, how have your business?
Well, that's a great question. I'm lucky, so I got to do a little bit of disclosure. I was diagnosed late with ADHD.
Okay.
And so my wife discovered early on that I was much more pleasant after a run than before a run. This goes back to 2007.
Not just because you were gone for that period of time.
Right.
After the run. Okay, understood. I'm picking
when
up.
When you get back, and I didn't even catch it at first, but I'd be home and like it's noon, like I'm telling you, I'm doing a later run, and she's going, "Don't you have to run?" and then I do the run and come back and I'm all gregarious because the endorphins are pumping and everything's pumping. So yeah, I'm lucky that my family is super supportive. And in fact, I've talked about through this process, maybe I should just because it's a commitment, maybe I should just think about having an end date, make it clean. Like, for instance, at 18 years, make it clean, stop the streak. And my wife, Tammy, would always say, that's, do you really want to stop the streak? So she's supportive and she wants me to do it. And that's important, for that type of thing. I think it helps. I mean, obviously, if you're sneaking out to do your run, it makes it more difficult. As far as business, it didn't change my business at all. I'm an insurance agent broker.
Has it enhanced?
In a lot of ways, it enhanced it because in the beginning of the streak in 2007, when I was working really hard, I was putting in some serious hours building my agency. It was great because I'd get out in the morning. I wanted to check it off the list because you hear these stories in the beginning where people forget to do their run and then they have to retire their streak. I still see them. A guy has 5 years and he goes, I didn't get my run done and one thing led to another, and so I have to retire my streak, but I'm going to start a new one. So there's a lot of people on, runeveryday.com that they're on their third streak.
Do you have to, I didn't look at the rules. Do you have to finish during that 24-hour period or do you just have to start?
Yeah, so the way it works is you pick your 24-hour time zone.
Okay.
This is how I understand it, and this is what I've done from the beginning. So we're on Pacific time here, right? You and I?
Yep.
So that is your time zone. So if you travel, you need to be within 24-hour period. That's the concept. If you want to have a daily run streak.
But you
it's
have
more complicated if you travel.
You have to finish it within that window?
That's correct. Unless it wouldn't be a daily run streak, correct?
Right, that's what I'm trying to. That's what I said it, the rules. So, I forget about it, and my time is up at midnight, and I think about it, and it's 12. That means, and it's 10 minutes to go. I have to run a 10-minute mile to make it work. Right, I have to. Okay.
Right. Woo. Well, in that case, you may have to do an 8-minute mile. You may have to get the lead out.
Yeah, I would, because I'm not going to trust Strava. I will not trust Strava. So I pointed to the watch about because Garmin collects. Garmin's my first layer of everything. So Garmin collects everything. So Garmin then goes to Training Peaks. Garmin goes to Strava. Garmin, right? But it's a Garmin that gets captured first.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a 24-hour period, and that's an important part of it. And that's the whole thing. I mean, to have a run streak, you have to want to do it. You have to love it. That's my opinion. You have to really want to do it because, I mean, you're doing sometimes some crazy stuff. If you're traveling, and I hear about it, a lot of streakers are running at the airport. You see these people run. They may be even inside because it's snowing, and they're like, they try to get a terminal that's away from everyone, and they're going up and down. They're getting their mile in, Yeah. So it's done, and then they get to their destination, and they can stick to that 24-hour time zone. But that's the way it works.
I've seen some people post about that exactly, but they're also posting about, last thing, let's talk about this. What about Strava segments? Strava segments, because you go all over the place. Yeah. Do you repeat them, and because you're definitely a Strava, athlete in a way?
Yeah.
So talk to me about the role, if any role, of Strava segments in how you run.
Well, I think segments are great. I mean, like if you like a segment and it happens to be a mile, you can just run that segment and you logged your mile. And if you're doing it every day, guess what? You're going to get the what do they call it? You're the local legend. You're going to get, and to give you an idea, so in the beginning when I was doing Strava, I was marathon training, and so I was doing a lot of the same routes over and over, and then I noticed these segments on there. And then I always wanted to be the dude. I wanted to have that local legend.
Of course.
But now I don't worry about it because I love diversity in my routes.
Yeah.
And I actually got a local legend on the Davis. If you looked at my Strava.
Oh, cool.
But it just because no one does it. But I don't get as many local legends. But I mean, at one time, I was carrying like 80 local legends. Yeah, it was insane. But you're running the same routes, but if you're doing a 24 long run, you can hit a lot of segments, in 24 miles.
Yeah.
So, but a segment. So when I first got on Strava and I wasn't able to race as much as I liked, that's what I used. I used those segments. Like people in my age group. And I've been around this area my whole life, so I know a lot of them, the majority. And and you can sort of benchmark yourself against certain people. And so I think segments are great for that. Okay. What do you think? I mean,
I don't pay attention to them, but every once in a while, because I kind of run all over I run all over the place. Right. I have them set. Yeah. I when I'm running on the street, I know where I know 5 mile blocks, 6 mile blocks, 7 mile,
exactly.
8 mile, so I repeat them, and maybe go in a different direction, and sometimes I'm off by a little bit. So. But every once in a while.
Well, on Strava, too, you can create your own, on the computer if you have the premium.
Yeah.
You create your own segments, and you can make that, like you could do like a mile loop, and you make the segment, and then you run it just to get your mile.
Right.
And you get a segment. And you get that.
I think that's right. Hearing you talk about it now, I'm inspired. I think, Kevin, I'm going to do it because what I end up doing is I just end up randomly, because there's a lot of people must be in my neighborhood that are all running around the street, but they're not exactly doing because I'm not doing anything sexy or interesting, or I'm just a big old block because my little brain's like, oh, look, that's 5 miles. Let's run that square.
Yeah.
but I just cut across some neighborhoods recently,
Right.
and it popped up on the segment. But what I
Yeah.
got my PR on the segment, which really just
Right,
means
exactly.
the first time I ever ran it. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and it's very convenient for that reason. Like you can get PRs, and the beauty of Strava is you can make them public or not public. So
Yeah.
you can create your own routes. You can keep them private. But then you're not going to get the glory, you know.
Yeah.
You're not
I
going to
think,
get
no, you're
that
inspiring me,
local
Kevin.
legend.
I'm telling you right now, I got a couple more things I got to do, but this afternoon,
Right.
I'm doing a 7-mile. I think it's a 7-mile today with a bunch of like 2-minute sprints and then 1-minute rest.
Yeah.
2 minute sprints.
Yeah.
So it's probably the best time for me if I'm worried about speed that I'll map that out. I'm gonna go do it. I'm gonna see what happens. I'll let you know. I mean, at a minimum, I'll have the first person that does the segment is going to be me. So I'll be a legend in my own mind for at least a day.
Yeah.
Well, this has been fantastic, man. Thank you for stepping up both conversations. I'm glad we're connected. It's easy to keep an eye on you now and cheer you on. Anything
vice versa. I'm excited for you. Bigfoot, baby.
Thank you.
I'll be watching.
Well, I'm heading to Nevada first, so I'll get to take the Reno.
Well, and that's the other issue. I mean, if you come by Reno, give me some time and let's do it.
Okay.
Let's get on the trail together. You know.
All right, let's cover some miles.
And we could get John Parks involved. You know, he's in Gardnerville, so which is close to us. So
close enough. Okay. All right. I can smell it cooking. There's some good ideas cooking. Last thing I ask people before we head up is to say, has your why, or rather how, if at all, your why has changed over the years as you've gotten older and run?
Well, I think I've just added more layers and more benefits of the why now. There's just so many things now that it's a more richer. I mean, it's a joy. I look at it as a privilege and what's the word I'm looking for? But it's almost like, what would happen if you couldn't do it? You know, That'd be bad for me because I get so much joy. And then what it does chemically to my body, it's just hard to replace. I mean, there's nothing like that endorphin. The runner's high normally comes after you do the workout. It doesn't happen during, right?
I don't know. Listen, I'm so glad we're talking about this because this hasn't come up yet. And now I hope never forget this every time I talk to somebody. Do you get this? I literally, when I am lacing up, the process of tying my shoes,
right,
and I'm putting on, that's when it happens. It's not putting on the other gear or the shorts or the whatever. But when I'm lacing up them shoes, and I know I'm tying this knot until I'm done with that workout, I physically, there's some chemical reactions happening in that moment. Do you feel that?
I think you're right. You know, my big tip to people when I first started and they had asked me, what's the number one thing I should do to keep a streak?
What's that?
You know what I tell them? Make it easy to get out the door. So in other words, have everything in a pile like you're going to do an event. You know, have your shorts, your shirt, your watch, everything you're going to need ready to go. Because if you start looking around and doing this, you get sidetracked. Maybe you don't do the run. So that was my big tip. Pro tip for people that want to, keep a streak going is make it easy to get out the door.
Well, you're inspiring, man. While I don't have a run streak going, you're inspiring me to say this podcast is working because every time someone gets on, it's such a pleasure and a joy to just hear who you are. Because we're not, although you do have podiums, generally the people in town, they don't have podiums, but everybody's got stories. And you've got some good ones, man. Thank you for the inspiration and for the time spending together.
Hey, thanks for having me.
I've loved it. You're very welcome. All right.